Don't stop.
Hi, thanks for joining today. I wanted to tell you a little story about, I don't think a lot of people know this, about whenever I was maybe junior high or even high school. I was always into fashion. I was always into clothes. I really was upset because I think I was nominated in high school to be best dressed my senior year. And I didn't get it. This guy, Chris, got it, which he was a good dresser, but he wasn't better than me. And so I have always loved clothes. I've always loved shoes. I remember whenever I was starting junior high school, my parents took me the summer of before I started sixth grade junior high and took me to Macy's, which was a big deal back then. And they bought me like all these clothes that I normally wouldn't have worn. I remember they bought me leather pants because there was Michael Jackson and all this people wearing leather pants. I don't even know if it was real leather, probably not. But I had the big Adidas shoes that had the big green laces, like the hip hop break dancers and stuff. I had those. There was a thing called parachute pants. So people that grew up in the 80s would know what these are. But they were really kind of like tight and they had zippers and they were made out of parachute material. I'm trying to think what else my parents, but anyway, it just surprised me that my parents bought me all this stuff because I was going to the better junior high in my town. One was a junior high that was like okay, and like maybe it wasn't the best crowd going. It wasn't a horrible junior high, but I was going kind of to the rich kids junior high, I would say, if that's even what you want to call it. But that's what it was. Later, we found out all those kids are just white trash anyway, and none of them are really rich, but. I ended up going to the nicer junior high school, and it was out of my school district. And I think my mom wanted to make sure that I fit in, and I was starting, junior high, and she wanted me to be popular and all this other stuff. So I guess my mom maybe put me into the fashion thing. Also, I had I had so many shoes growing up at one point, and I had these white leather slip-on shoes, and they were like Miami Vice, like Don Johnson wore them. And I lived in Miami, so I guess I don't know. But anyway, I remember when I was in high school, it was high school, I was working in the mall in retail and I got a discount. My first job was, my very first job was working at McDonald's, which lasted, I guess, a year because my parents bought me a car and I had to pay for the insurance. They paid for the first 6 months of insurance, and then it was up to me to pay for the insurance and the gas. And the insurance was like nothing. So I got a job. I was making literally $3.35 an hour. That was what minimum wage was back then when I was 16. And so I worked at McDonald's, and then because my friend worked there and got me a job. And then I realized like McDonald's isn't for me. Need to go to the mall and work. So I went to the mall. I had a friend that worked at J.C. Penney's. And I ended up working there. God, it was so ridiculous. I worked at J.C. Penney's. I had to wear a suit and tie to J.C. Penney's in the mall to work there. And I worked in the watch repair department, which I knew nothing about how to repair watches. I knew how to do any of that stuff. But this woman, I think her name was Margie. She was so beautiful. She was so nice. She had a hot, hot boyfriend, I remember. And she taught me how to take the back off of a watch and replace the battery. And I think I could still do it today. But then I ended up getting moved over to the men's department. And then I ended up like skipping school one day with my friends going up to Miami or beach or something. And then I didn't go to work. And then I ended up getting basically fired for not showing up. And then I got another job, which everything happens for a reason. I got another job at this more upper class store, which had more of the type of clothes I like, called Burdines. So I started working for Burdines, and I was working in the kids department. And did I get a discount working there? I don't know if I got a discount. Yeah, we got a discount, maybe 15%. And so I think all of my paycheck went to pay for my gas and my insurance. And then rest went for clothes. But sometimes I would buy clothes I was so skinny in high school. Like I was a 26-inch waist. I was just like skin and bones. I mean, I looked, I had no muscle tone at all because I hated sports. I never played any sports. I didn't run. I didn't do anything active. I was skipping school and I was just driving my friends around, smoking cigarettes, and just being a bad kid working at the mall. But the point of my story is that I'd buy these clothes that wouldn't always fit because I'd have to buy them from the men's department. You don't find a lot of men's clothes that have a 26-inch waist. So I still kind of had to buy in the kids department. But when I'd find a pair of jeans or something that I really liked, I'd buy them. And I didn't even think about like, oh, taking my stuff to a tailor, nor could I afford it because I was a high school kid. So I would try to tailor things myself. So I bought these jeans and they were really baggy at the bottom. And the trend back then was the opposite, where it was a really kind of tight fitted down towards the ankle. And the girls even had zippers on their jeans because they were so tight where they had to zip them on and off to get them up. So I remember I like taught myself how to sew these jeans up the seam to make them tighter at the bottom. And I did it to like 2 pairs of jeans. I had no idea how to sew, but I just taught myself. And there was no YouTube because there was no internet when I was in high school. And I basically made these jeans tight at the bottom, and that was like, and I sewed them all the way up to like the waist, so you couldn't really tell. I didn't cut them or anything, but they were like more fitted, tailored jeans for my little skinny body. So today I'm interviewing a woman named Stacey, and I love Stacey's story because she grew up on a farm and she was a dancer, and she sounds like, you know, she was interested in fashion and stuff. She had a brother that was a drag performer, and she ends up doing all these like amazing costumes and clothing for people. And that's just kind of like what her passion was. And I loved her story. I loved her. And she wants to do clothing for Kesha, which I hope she gets to do one day because that would be so, so amazing for her. And she was just a great interview and a great person. I just loved her vibe, and I hope you enjoy her story. But that was my connection with her, is that I grew up doing these little outfits for myself. Oh, another thing I'll just tell you really quick. I would sometimes cut my jeans at the bottom because they were too long. I mean, like I said, I was buying like men's jeans, and I was not I didn't have a man's body. I had a little boy's body. And so I'd have to cut them off, and then I would like try to make a hem at the bottom. I'm surprised they didn't fall apart when I was like walking down the hallway at school because it was not sewn very well. And I was doing it all by hand. I didn't have a sewing machine or anything, and nor would I know how to use a sewing machine. But I would make these I'd stuff these jeans with like toilet paper and make little pillows out of them and then give them to my friend Jen. And I think she still has them. And it was kind of like a joke. Like I would send her stuff in the mail, even though she lived 5 minutes away from me, but I would send her like little prizes in the mail of things I would make. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. Anyway, enjoy the episode with Stacey, just giving you a little history of how I thought I was going to be a famous costume designer one day, maybe in the very back of my head, but here I am doing podcast. Enjoy the show. Hi, thanks so much for joining me on the Everything and Anything and a Bit Gay podcast. Today I have a brand new guest. Her name is Stacey Gonder. Did I say it correctly?
Gonder, just like it's spelled.
Gonder. And Stacey is a professional dancer who turned fashion designer and creative coach. She founded Stacey G Custom Creations without any formal business training, but a fierce belief in power and self-expression. What I love about her background is she started stitching costumes together for performers that involve to a brand that supports drag artists, circus performers, musicians, dancers, and everyday people in bold, authentic identities through custom fashion image coaching. So that's amazing. You get to help all these people. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
So what kind of got you, I guess first let's start from the beginning. Like what got you into fashion? Like did you always grow up loving fashion, and were you putting things together when you were growing up?
Yeah. I mean, fun fact, I grew up on a farm. And
okay.
I think I had this innate desire to like create sparkles somewhere where it didn't exist.
Okay.
And I grew up as a professional dancer. I was really, really blessed to have a career from the time I was 12 till I think I laterally shifted out when I was about 35. And so I just melded the two together. You know, like my mom has stories that I constantly changed my clothes all day long when I was a kid. And like, it just always, it was more about like typical fashion was never my jam. It was just more about being creative with what you put on your body.
Yeah. Cool. And so were you kind of thinking about outfits for yourself and for your other dancers as kind of, is that where you first started at?
Yeah, I was performing in a contract and I lost the contract really unexpectedly in my mid-20s and I literally didn't know how to do anything else. I was like, oh shit, what do I do now? And so I went back to school in my mid-20s and learned how to sew. And so, you know, took my resources and connection to the community there and coupled it with the skills that I learned at costume study school and started doing custom costuming for competitive and recreational dancers, which was really the world that I grew up in.
Yeah.
And my older brother does drag. And so we started to mix those worlds together. And as time went on, we just started to realize that like I had access to all these spaces really organically.
So you started off kind of doing for dancers, but then you started helping your brother with some of his costumes, which must have been so much fun. I mean, because you can be so creative with a drag performer.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, his drag persona is super campy and super silly, and so you know, combining all those things together, and again, like it's all sometimes it's I don't know if it's better per se, but I like not having an attachment to commercial fashion just kind of gave me a world like I didn't know any better. It's like Sarah from Spanx says the same thing. She's like, I didn't know I could do it any other way, so I just did it the way that I thought I should.
Yeah. One of the questions I wanted to ask you is, did you ever think about wanting to kind of go work for like a fashion brand since you've got these skills now? Is not your jam?
No, I mean, I really enjoy the personal process and really learning about each human being and what they want to bring to life and how they want to walk through the world versus, you know, the mass assimilation of personas per se. And like, I feel very strongly and have a very strong belief that we all get to walk through this world as the person we truly know ourselves to be. And that gets to be reflected on the outside versus seeing yourself walking down the street.
Yeah, exactly. So I understand how you found the dancers, but how did you find like the circus performers that you were creating costumes for? And tell me, like, there's such a difference in circus performers, right? And dancers and drag. And then you also help musicians. Like, tell me how you kind of creatively come up with all these things.
Yeah, you know, I've been really fortunate that throughout the years, so in 2001 is when I started really kind of professionally creating costumes. And then fast forward about 10 years and I've always been a strong electronic music fan also, and I had access to that community. And so I started a second brand in 2015 when the commercial music festival boom happened.
Okay.
And started creating kind of like adult version costumes for people that were at music festivals and performers that were at music festivals, which tend to be aerialists, circus artists, you know, flame fire performers, that sort of thing. And so like, I just started to realize that there was all these lateral connections to all the worlds. They may not be the same, but there's definitely a common thread through everybody. And so I like to say that I just kind of know things. And, you know, like I have this really instinctual ability to see things that make sense for people. I like, or they're describing them and I'm like, oh, it's this. And they're like, oh my God, yes. And so really just listening to what people need in terms of function, and then as well as like who they are or what their persona or their stage character is and what they want to communicate via their clothing and how those two things connect.
So you're kind of, you're almost like an image consultant in a way, right? In some ways where you're helping them, like I don't want to, maybe it's a stylist, image consultant, I guess, but it sounds like because you're listening to what they want and then kind of building that. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And, I didn't really, when I went to costume school in the late 90s, early 2000s, I didn't realize that that's really what the art of costume design and creation is when you're looking at a script breakdown and you're like, okay, this is what this character represents. This is who they are in the world. This is their personality. And then, that actually does translate out into real life. And so, I'm in this space where it is and it isn't a reinvention. It's more of an evolution of my skills and who I work with. Because to your point, this brand and styling and like persona consulting is where I'm at right now, and working with all types of people and performers to really bring to life what they see in their mind, because usually they see it very clearly and they just don't have the skill or the technical ability to bring it to life.
Have you ever thought about doing like something, because I feel like you would be so good like going and working on Broadway and doing the costumes for them, because some of them are so amazing. I just went to go see what did I just go see? I can't even think of the name of the show. Moulin Rouge I just went to go see in New York, and it was so good, and the costumes were so amazing, and it was just an amazing show. And I think about, like, I was thinking during that time watching the show, like, the people that are putting together these outfits and just the number of people in the show, it must feel so great to be that creative and so satisfying once you see these people on stage. Have you ever thought about doing something like that or pursuing that?
Yeah, when I first came out of costume school, I like here in Toronto, I was working in film and TV in our entertainment industry, and
it's pretty big in Canada, actually.
yeah, we went through a really, it's coming back, in a really peak way. We went through some dark times.
Okay.
And it's coming back. I'm so blessed that I have a Jill or person of all trades where I kind of am able to shift into most spaces. And yeah, I would love to. That would be great. Because when I was coming out of school and doing internships and stuff, it was more of like the technical side of it and actually building costumes. And now I'm into this space where, yeah, I mean, I love sitting at a sewing machine for a while, but also just the imagination of it and the actual, the vision of it all is really what really gets me excited now.
And like, how does it feel once you give somebody? So I'll use your brother for an example. You go and make a costume for your brother, and he goes and he goes out and performs with it, and he absolutely just like loves it. How do you feel at that? I mean, obviously, I think you feel fantastic about it, but tell me what your feeling is.
Yeah, there's a few things that happen. Like, there's the actual gratification when you complete the project and you hold it up and you're like I did that, or myself and my team did that. And then the initial reveal to the person is super cool too, because like they're like nailed it.
Yeah.
For them to see tangibly what they saw in their mind, and then the collaboration between myself, my team, and them to bring it to life. And then seeing it on stage is also awesome, because then you're bringing in the audience and they're having their experience with it also. And so it's this, this exponential expansion and ripple of this thing that it started with an idea, and the joy and excitement and also the impact, like my brother as the example, he's pretty campy, and so usually he's got something to say with his costuming and whatever the piece is that they've put together. And so when people get it and they're like, oh, I get it, and it's effective, is really, really gratifying.
What was kind of the best time that you've had, or the best point in your career, I would say, where you felt kind of what was the most exciting thing you did in your career that you're so happy about, that you look at, you're like, wow, that was fantastic?
Yeah. I mean, there's many kind of magic moments. But I think the one that has kind of the most notoriety to is we worked with a designer in my studio shop, and my team put together the costuming for the Life in Color Electronic Music Festival out of Miami. And that was really cool. My brother used to be a graphic designer before he switched careers, and so he did a lot of the set design.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it was like this little family affair. Yeah, just to see, again, like you were saying, with Moulin Rouge, and seeing like just the scope of the pre-production that goes into something, and then watching it's almost like watching a Rubik's Cube come together, you know, like you see all the pieces floating around and then they meld together to create this beautiful piece that, again, like thousands of people came to experience and walk away with memories. Also, like, it doesn't end there.
Yeah.
You know, that's, again, they have these memories and this impact that's created. So it was really cool.
Are you still working with your brother?
Not as much. With drag, but not as much as we used to.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did he have other friends that were drag and doing drag that you were helping or still helping?
Yeah.
Cool. So you have the whole Toronto drag scene, basically. You're dressing, it sounds like.
Yeah, you know, I've been really, really blessed since I've been in this space for over 20 years. And so to go through these ebbs and flows and watch community shift and change and watch different people come and go from the communities and to be open and flexible to as accessibility to certain things change too, and be open to like exploring, okay, what else is possible given that things change.
Yeah. So how did your mom or your parents kind of support you growing up doing this? And it sounds like they're pretty, maybe your parents or mom are liberal because they have a drag queen son. So I guess that's very typical to be liberal in Canada. So I guess your parents accepted all this and supported you to be a dancer and to go into fashion?
Yeah, you know, again, super blessed. We grew up in rural Ontario, and you know, as a kid, I didn't understand it. I was like, why the fuck would we live here?
Yeah.
Like, as an adult, I'm like, thank you for giving me that appreciation.
Yeah.
They made sure and were committed that I have a younger brother also, so that the three of us had access to the things that we wanted to do. And they, in my experience, made sure that they did whatever it took to get me to dance class that was, you know, 40 minutes in one direction because there was nothing available. And again, like, as things expand and things shift, they were like, well, if that's what makes you happy and that's what's bringing you a sense of purpose and accomplishment, then like, yeah, let's make it happen.
In your bio, I read that you at one point had an issue and kind of had to start over, and you did it with resilience and you came back strong. So tell me about that. That time in your life?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a couple of them.
Okay. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Okay, and now back to the show.
Like most small to medium sized business owners, the pandemic really, you know, like we were doors closed for almost 3 years. The pandemic was looked a little bit different here in Canada than it did in most parts of the world. And yeah, I really considered, I was like, is this it? Like, is this where I do a 180 and choose something different, or what do I do here? And I remember I sat and I was like trying to visualize myself in some other environment. And I was like, nope, like, that doesn't make sense. And so I literally, I guess two and a half, maybe 3 years ago, decided, okay, it's like, like I said, I was running two brands concurrently to each other that kind of focused on different yet similar parts of the industry. And so I dissolved both of those brands and started over with the By Stacey G brand.
Okay.
Streamlined things and said, okay, this is what we're doing. And I was introduced to transformational mindset work around the same time and started to integrate that into my processes with clients, and moved into, historically, we were in an industrial production space. I moved to a combination of storefront retail space.
Oh, awesome.
With production in the back. So I was like, listen, if we're going to keep this dream alive, we're going for it. And also really sat down and had a conversation with myself and said, okay, like, you have at that point, you know, 20 years of experience. It was our 20th anniversary when the pandemic hit. And I was like, okay, what can I take from how I did it previously? And like, kind of what worked and what didn't work, and like, leave the shit that didn't work. Let's leave that to the side and take what worked and double down on it. And also, like, I think about what else can we do differently. And so that's what we did. You know, we doubled down and got on the phone for the first time in 20 years and like did cold calling, did all those things that I had never quote unquote had to do. And I was very, very fortunate to not have to, and was successful at it. And so also taught myself that like, hey, people want what you have to offer. And so like, let's keep going.
And did your community, was there a lot of community support whenever you were during the pandemic from the people that you were working with?
Yeah.
Because I know they were not performing either because everything was closed, right? So was it the whole community kind of come together?
Yeah. I mean, yes. And as like time went on, everybody kind of like, we, as everybody, we thought it was only going to be X amount of time. And
2 weeks. That's what I thought.
Oh, okay. No.
Yeah.
And then as things started to reintegrate, yes, it was like, okay, how can we make this work given the instability of the industries at that time and the instability of what people were up to globally, really. And so started to like come together and look at creative ways of like, okay, cool. Like, what does costuming specifically look like in these spaces where we may be able to do this or we might not be able to do this, I think it really shifted for sure. And then the last 2 years, things have resembled pre-pandemic times.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And now you have the storefront also, so people can come in and so are you kind of doing like consultation with them in a way when they're coming in and kind of figuring out what they want?
Yeah. So we're in a space now. We're just outside of what I fondly refer to as the Gayborhood in Toronto. And so, we're hosting monthly events to have like
awesome.
Connect and invite the community in and let everybody know that like, hey, we have this space that we want to interact. We want to be, we want to be here for everybody in whatever capacity. You want to come and hang out and check things out. You want to shoot content here. You want to like do style, image branding. Cool. You want to create something custom. Cool. Yeah. And really, really reintegrating back into a space. Cause like, most times styling, image consulting, costume production happens kind of behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. And really what I'm doing is bringing it to like into the forefront and being like, hey, this is something that you get to do every morning when you wake up. It's not just about performance. Yeah. It's about who you are in the world.
I just interviewed Bianca Del Rio. And would you ever want to do like styling for her? I mean, she would be yeah. I guess I didn't even need to ask that, I guess.
Yeah. It's my like, honestly, it's my favorite to have such a wide spectrum because like you can do anything. Yeah. And that's so exciting and to experiment and to not have to ask permission.
Yeah.
Where it's like, no, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing.
Who is the most interesting person you've worked with?
Ooh.
Or unique?
Yeah. The most interesting or unique person that I have worked with. Probably Evan Bedell, actually. Okay. Yeah, he's a Canadian designer who he won Project Runway years ago.
Okay.
And him and I had a personal friendship, and then he used my studio and stuff. He's just such an interesting human being and such a free and fun spirit, and just like he's just part of the Canadian fabric fashion too. Yeah.
Would you ever do Project Runway?
You know what? I don't think so because like I'm so not competitive.
Okay, yeah, you need to be competitive, but yeah. But I looked at some of your clothes online and stuff, and I think that you could. I mean, and you're so creative. I mean, I really think you could blow them away. You should think about it.
Okay, I'll think about it, Zach.
Okay.
I'll put that on my list. I'm like, all right, things to think about.
Yeah, exactly. There's a just think about it because I think that would be awesome. I mean, it's just like you'd really get your even if you only made it through the first 2 rounds, people would know who you are, so.
That is true. That is the one, what's the one on with Heidi Klum?
That's Project Runway too.
Yeah?
Oh, no.
It's the next cut. The next cut.
Oh, yeah. The
next cut. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
It'd be fun.
And who would you, if you could work with anyone, so star, drag, performer, I was thinking of Circus du Soleil also. That would be kind of cool. Like if you did something like that, because it's such a production as well. And there's so many different brands under their main brand. What would be your dream job or dream person to dress?
Kesha.
Really?
I love her.
That's not, I feel like you could do it.
Yeah, like just everything, her evolution as an artist.
Yeah.
As a human being, like I just got goosebumps. Like that's it.
I will have to tag Kesha whenever I post this, and let's see. I mean, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I like to fondly say that she's my spirit human.
Okay. Awesome. That's amazing. I love it that it's Kesha because she's big, but she's not like Madonna, Cher big where no one can talk to them. You know, I think she's still in that era where she is probably approachable.
Yeah. And that's, when you ask me about like the interesting people too, it's like, I think it's the relatability that's so special to me, where it's like you're still a human being, and like for me, like she's got something to say.
Yeah. And
so like those are the people, regardless of like where in stardom you are, you got something to say.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. You can like do her world tour with her and just get all her costumes, but you're going to have to go around the world with her because she's going to need
is sneak backstage when she's here in Toronto because I have tickets to her show. So,
you do?
So I was going to have to like, go knock on her door.
Do they have like the meet and greet package that you can buy?
Probably.
You should do it. It would be worth the investment. Even if it was like $150 or something, like do it just so you can be like, I want a picture, but hey, like you are the person I always wanted to work with. And here's a couple of photos of my brand, of what I can do.
It was a few years ago when she was here and I went to see her, and somebody who was like super close threw a jacket on stage that they had made. And I was like, why did I not think
exactly?
What's wrong with me? So I'm just going to have to like those t-shirt guns.
Yes, exactly. Or whenever she is in town, you could send, like people send all these stars flowers and stuff like that. You could send her like a box of like some of your samples of your clothing. Like just think about that. Or a basket, not a box. But
yeah, I love this brainstorming session we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so far we got you on Project Runway and doing Kesha. You're doing Broadway shows and Circus du Soleil. So we have a busy time for you.
Yeah, I better go.
Yeah, you better get started today, like right now. So. Well, I loved it that we got to talk, and just because like you're creative and you're helping the community, and I love it that you have this space now right outside the neighborhood in Toronto, and you're allowing people to come there and be creative, and you're helping people. We need more people like you in the community. So that's just really amazing. So if you want to learn more about Stacey, her website is bystaceyg.com. Check it out. And she's also on Instagram by the Stacey G. And Stacey is Stacey. So just so you know. So check it out. She's got some fun things on her website to look at. And are you doing e-commerce on your website or? Awesome.
Yep. We ship everywhere.
All right. So go on and buy something. Support Stacey. Support the community. So thank you so much for being on, Stacey. I think it's amazing, again, what you're doing. And I love the creativity.
Yeah, thank you. It's my absolute pleasure.
And listen, whenever you make Project Runway and you're the winner, you got to come back and do my show again.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be like, listen, it was all Zach's idea.
All right. Thanks so much for being on, everybody. Please be sure to subscribe and listen and leave a comment. Send Stacey a DM and tell her hi on her Instagram page. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.